Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. It's great to have you with us again.
Hello. Yes, wonderful to be diving deep with you all.
As always, we're here to take the sources you're interested in, unpack them, and really get to the heart of the wisdom inside, making those complex ideas, well, click.
Right. Aiming for that clarity, those aha moments, and, that feeling of connection that helps us all grow.
And today we've got a really rich one lined up. We're doing a detailed sort of question-by-question walkthrough of Session 91 from the Law of One.
Yeah, this should be a beautiful exploration. We're looking at the text itself, session 91, and our goal, our mission, if you like, is to really immerse ourselves.
Maximum detail, maximum understanding, that's the plan, while always keeping those core Law of One principles in view.
Absolutely. That deep truth, I am you and you are me, and that sense of reverence, that namaste energy for how it all connects.
Okay, let's jump in. Session 91 starts as usual with checking on the instrument's condition.
It does. And Rai's reply, it is as previously stated. It's kind of that consistent baseline check, a reminder of the stability needed.
A grounding point before the deep stuff.
Exactly. Then the questioner brings up this big idea, the cosmic mind.
Right, suggesting it's the same consciousness, fundamentally, for all sublogo, like our sun, for instance.
And just quickly, for anyone new, a logos is like a major creative hub, like our solar system's sun, and a sublogos is a more localized version.
Good clarification. So the idea is this shared cosmic mind.
And what's interesting is Rai just confirms it, straight up, this is correct.
So that establishes this baseline unity, this shared consciousness right at the start.
Yeah, a foundational interconnectedness that everything else sort of builds upon.
Okay, so building from there, the questioner then suggests that these sublogos, like our sun, they take that cosmic mind and articulate it, add their own biases.
They use the word addition, suggesting they add their unique flavor, creating different evolutionary paths.
But Rai picks up on that specific word, addition.
Yes, and offers a really crucial correction. It's subtle, but important. Ross says it's not really adding something new.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's a refinement. Think of it like
Yeah.
like sculpting from a single block, not adding extra bits.
Okay, so the archetypical mind isn't added to the cosmic mind.
Exactly. Ra says the archetypical mind is a refinement of the all mind into a pattern that's, quote, peculiar to the sublogos.
Peculiar meaning unique,
Yeah.
specific to that system.
Right. Each sublogos acts like a unique lens, focusing that universal consciousness in its own distinct way. Very cool concept.
It really is. So logically, the questioner then asks if the archetypical mind is the very next step down, the immediate refinement of the cosmic mind.
And Ra says yes, simple confirmation. So the flow is cosmic mind, then archetypical mind for a specific system.
Setting up a clear hierarchy almost.
But then the questioner assumes the next step is the planetary or racial mind. Seems logical: universe, system, then planet.
Makes sense. But Ra?
Ra says no, just flat out, no.
Okay, so that throws a wrench in the works.
Yeah.
If the planetary racial mind isn't the next refinement down, where does it come from?
Great question. And Ra's explanation is fascinating. It's described as a repository of biases remembered.
Remembered by whom?
By the mind-body-spirit complexes us, basically, as integrated beings who have experienced life under this planet's influence.
So it's not flowing directly down from the logos like the archetypes, it's built up from collective experience.
Exactly. It's like a collective memory bank woven from countless lifetimes lived here, with all their perspectives and, yes, biases.
Wow. That's a powerful way to think about planetary consciousness. So does that include people who transferred here from other planets? Do they add to it?
Good point. Ra confirms they do add to the planetary mind, but then adds another layer. Ra says each race also possesses its own racial mind. So you have the planetary layer and then these distinct racial consciousnesses within that.
Layers within layers. How do those racial minds form then?
Through experiences chosen in free will by individuals within the planet's influence. Even if those experiences seem separated by time, it emphasizes individual choice feeding the collective.
And is this planetary racial mind connected to the Akashic Records, that big universal library?
Yes, Roll links it to the Akashic Record, calling it a root of mind, but also distinguishes it from deeper roots that aren't about altering memory in the same way.
So it's a layer of the Akashic Record focused on collective memory and experience here.
That seems to be the idea, a specific layer within that vast spectrum.
Okay, then we get that little pause in the session, the technical glitch with the microphone cord.
Yeah, a little reminder of the physical reality of the contact. And Ra's comment about necessary repetitions is quite Gentle.
Shows the care involved in maintaining the link,
Hmm.
adjusting things, the circle of one, the breathing.
Right. It underscores the focused intention needed.
So once they reestablish contact, they ask what actually happened when the cord moved.
And Ra explains the link between the instrument's mind-body-spirit complex and her physical body was jarred.
Jarred, affecting the lungs specifically.
Yes, the physical vehicle for speaking. And Ra notes the potential severity. If uncorrected, it could eventually lead to congestive heart failure.
Wow, that really highlights the delicate balance, a small physical thing having potentially huge consequences.
It does. And then the questioner asks about the philosophy behind it, not just the mechanics.
But Ra says it's not really philosophical.
Right. Ra says it's more mechanical, a reflex, and offers the silver cord reflex analogy.
The silver cord, connecting the consciousness to the body.
Yeah, think of the consciousness dwelling slightly outside, connected by this cord. A physical disturbance triggers a reflexive pullback.
Like yanking on the cord.
Exactly. And Ra uses another analogy, a stretched elastic band, if it snaps back too suddenly.
Ouch. Impacts the anchor point, the physical body.
Precisely. That's why the gentle recall process they use is so important, like slowly easing the tension on the band.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting gears back to origins. The questioner wonders if different races came from different nearby planets, maybe after evolving through second density.
You know, the plant and animal kingdom level.
Right, and Ra.
Ra says there are correctnesses to that idea, but it's not the whole story. Not all races have different planetary origins.
So it's complex. What does Ra say is the real key to understanding potential planetary origins? Not the obvious stuff.
Definitely not the obvious stuff like skin color. Ra points us towards deeper things, biases in how we interact, how we define ourselves.
Our fundamental ways of relating and our core identity, those might hold the clues.
That's the implication, a much deeper way to look at diversity.
So naturally they ask, how many planets contributed people to Earth's third density?
Ra calls it unimportant but harmless info, then says 3 major planetary influences besides our own second density evolution, plus 13 minor groups.
A cosmic melting pot, in a way.
You could say that, a real tapestry.
Okay, now on to the archetypes discussion, which is a big part of this session. First question, do all logo that use the veil end up with 22 archetypes?
And the answer is a clear no, which tells us our system isn't necessarily universal.
So is 22 common or more unique to us?
Rao says the system of sevens, think chakras, is the most articulated system they know in their octave, suggesting 22 might be relatively specific to our logos.
Interesting. So what's the largest number of archetypes Ra knows of?
Ra says the sevens plus the choice. It's a bit cryptic.
Maybe hinting at 22? Like 7 times 3 plus 1, maybe?
Perhaps. Ra emphasizes these systems are results of many different experiments by logo trying to articulate the creator.
Okay, so if 22 is relatively large, what's the smallest number of archetypes used?
Graham mentions 2 systems of 5 that complete the cycles of experience.
Systems of 5. How do they work? Are they very different?
They share core elements. Matrix, Potentiator, Significator Ra calls that the harvest or starting point.
Okay, the basic.
Right, but then they differ. One adds catalyst and experience learning through encounters. The other adds catalyst and transformation, focusing on changing through encounters.
So different paths to processing experience built into the archetypes themselves.
Exactly. Different fundamental approaches to evolution.
Fascinating. Now the session dives into analyzing the first archetype, the matrix of the mind, the magician card. The questioner sees the male figure as intelligently directed creative energy.
And Ra validates that, highlighting the perception of the male principle, not just biology. But Ra also points out the sexual biases in the imagery.
Why are those there?
Ra says they're intentional, conveying information about attraction and polarity as keys to the third density archetypical mind. It's fundamental to our current level.
Got it. And the wand the figure holds, questioner sees it as the power of will.
Ra agrees, will pours forth, but adds a nuance. The wand is derived from the magical gesture of the hand reaching out, and that sphere at the tip indicates the spiritual nature of the will's object, will directed spiritually.
Okay, what about the hand pointing down? Questioner thinks it's seeking from within.
Ra gently corrects this. The conscious mind, unpotentiated, has no inwardness. The hand reaches outward, trying to grasp potential, to draw it in.
Ah, outward seeking, not inward. Got it. The square table or cage. Material illusion.
Ra confirms. The square symbolizes the third density illusion, manifested life, seen as unmagical or just. materialized reality, depending on perspective.
And the dark area around it, subconscious.
Yes, Ra's response is very concise. There is no further thing to say to the perceptive student. Basically, spot on.
Nice. The checkered floor or pattern, polarity.
Also confirmed. This also is satisfactory. Clear agreement on the symbolism of duality.
What about the bird? Questioner sees it as a messenger to be unlocked.
Ra says winged things generally mean flight, messages, movement. Here, the folded wing suggests the matrix, the conscious mind, needs its winged spirit.
And the spirit needs release.
Needs release into conscious manifestation, yes. A necessary integration.
Okay. The star in the image, potentiating force from the subconscious.
Ra says that's best seen in astrological terms, but interestingly adds that they didn't intentionally put astrological bits in the archetypes, maybe a later addition or interpretation.
So that leads to asking about other non-archetypal stuff in the card, like the Egyptian clothes.
Right. Ra says expect cultural details from the time it was drawn. The key is to look past the specific cultural trappings to the underlying significance.
Don't get stuck on the Egyptianness of it.
Exactly. And remember, the images resonate differently for everyone. Ra intended guidelines, not rigid definitions. Room for creative envisioning.
Makes sense. Now, the cup. Questioner initially asks if it's mixed positive-negative passions, but the question wasn't clear at first.
Yeah, Ra asks for a repeat. Then the questioner expresses doubt about that simple interpretation anyway.
And Rad's advice.
Acknowledge polarity is key, but release the cup from its stricture, meaning that specific interpretation might be a distortion.
So what was the original symbol for polarity there?
Ra says it was the checkering itself, the alternating squares. The cup likely means something else.
And the questioner then offers a new idea. The checkering is waiting polarity, potential to be tasted or experienced by the mind.
And Ra loves this. This is exquisitely perceptive, a real moment of connection there.
That's great. Okay, then the sword and coin symbols of struggle and accomplishment. Questioner isn't sure they're even in the diagram.
Right. And again, Raj says, don't doubt the concepts, struggle, striving, but release the sword coin from its stricture. Don't fixate on those specific objects.
So how should we think about struggle or the sword concept here?
Ra uses the analogy of a caged bird's struggle to fly. The inherent drive is there, even without a literal sword.
And the coin, or accomplishment.
Ra connects it to the Magus's drive to achieve through the manifested world. It's about that striving.
Okay. Then the magician figure itself, is it just the conscious mind?
Ra adds nuance. Consider the unfed conscious mind. Pure consciousness, before potentiation, catalyst, experience, all that.
So distinct from our experienced conscious minds, which are already full of stuff.
Exactly. It's the raw potential of consciousness.
So are those all the main components of this first archetype, the matrix of the mind?
Ra says, essentially, these are what you, the student, see now, so it's complete for you. Others might see other nuances.
Again, guidelines, not rigid boundaries.
Precisely. To aid the adept and map the deep mind.
Which leads perfectly to, how does knowing this stuff help us evolve faster?
And Ra gives a great practical example. Someone whose conscious mind is too busy blocking higher energy center work.
Like blue or indigo ray work.
Yes. That person can consciously call upon this first archetype, the archetype of the new mind, the unblemished mind, full of potential, free from bias.
Using the archetype as a tool to reset or access a purer state of mind.
Exactly. A direct application for personal growth.
So the questioner then wonders if these archetypes are the foundation of evolution itself.
And Ra clarifies again, not the foundation, but the tool. A crucial tool for grasping spiritual evolution without distortion. Like a map, not the territory itself.
Okay, so recognizing and using these archetypes helps us sort out our seeking, find the clearer, more undistorted paths.
Ra agrees, calling that a fairly adequate statement, and prefers the word undistorted over efficient.
Why undistorted?
Because the archetypical mind is that blueprint of all potential seeking and energy use, but without the distortions we usually overlay. It's a pure resource for the adept.
A very valuable resource.
Okay.
Okay, as the session wraps up, they ask if there's anything more they can do for the contact or the instrument's comfort.
Which is very considerate. Ra commends their conscientiousness, suggests swirling water nearby, keeping the spine erect.
Practical tips.
Yeah, but also acknowledges their harmony and Thanksgiving practice as real protection. Reassures them all as well, alignments are good.
That's comforting. And the closing words.
Classic Ra, leaving in love and light. Go forth then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite creator,
Ugh.
Adonai.
Adonai. Wow, what a session. Just packed with layers, from the cosmic mind down to planetary memory, and then that deep dive into just the first archetype.
It really reinforces that interconnectedness, doesn't it? How everything flows and reflects. Lots to chew on.
Definitely. And for you listening, seeking that deeper understanding, this session is just such a gift, a pathway into these really big metaphysical ideas.
We saw how the universal mind refines into our system's unique archetypes, how planetary consciousness is built from collective memory.
And how those archetypes aren't just abstract symbols, but actual tools we can use for clearer, more uh, undistorted evolution.
Right, so maybe the thought to leave you with is, what archetypal patterns feel active in your life right now? What potentials are there?
Yeah, how could engaging with these universal blueprints, maybe like the new mind Ray mentioned, help illuminate your path? Especially thinking about that core idea.
I am you and you are me. These concepts really show how true that is on so many levels. We're all woven into this incredible cosmic design.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into session 91. We hope it sparks some insights for you.
May your own journey with the Law of One continue to be insightful and full of wonder. Until next time.